Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of your favourite Cheltenham Town podcast, The Robins Report, with me, your host, Tom Wade. Guys, before we get into it this week, there's just a little something that I want to touch on. As we all probably know by now, we had the sad news last week that Yeovil Town captain Lee Collins sadly passed away. I don't want to get into it too much, obviously, the ins and outs of it, but what I will say is I want to send my condolences to his friends, his family, of course, and obviously Yeovil and all their fans. And guys, I think everybody said it so many times. Just if you're ever feeling down, if you ever feel alone, reach out and talk to somebody. Somebody is always there. May not feel like it, but I can guarantee you, whether it's through charities, whether it's through communication, however, just reach out. Somebody will be there, and you're not alone. So please make sure you do take advantage of that if you're ever feeling like that. And I know certainly my DMs are open all the time. So anybody watching, please do feel free to reach out. But yeah, once again, condolences to those affected by what is a tragic death and a huge loss. A huge loss. Right, let's get into it, shall we? Obviously, as you can see this week, the man has returned, the man himself, Gloucestershire Live's John Palmer. JP, how you doing, mate? It feels like an absolute age since we last did this.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing well, thanks, Tom. I've just about warmed up after Grimsby, and that was a cold one. But yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I don't. I know exactly what you're saying about Grimsby. I know I went there on a couple of Tuesday, about Friday nights before, and it was gale force winds, really driving rain, and it's not a nice experience. So yeah, I can feel you on that one. But outside of that, I'm doing really well, mate. Cheers, thanks for that. Just living life, I suppose. Looking forward to getting out of this lockdown. Now we're getting closer and getting back to hopefully sharing a cold one at Wadden Road too. Right, John, let's get into it. So, unfortunately, obviously you're supposed to have James Robinson on from the 1887 Red Army. He's not been able to make it due to work commitments. Seems to be a thing because I did that when we were supposed to do it last time. And I can honestly say it's not an excuse. So I don't know how he feels, but yeah, we will bring you that episode. It just be delayed for another week or so. So latest news. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't know why I put it in, but got to tell you, you got to know. So as you might have seen, I tweeted, I think you wrote about it, John, or you mentioned it on Twitter yourself. The Stevenage game and the Carlisle game coming up for Town. I've got the dates. I think they're the next 2 Tuesdays coming up. For some reason, I don't really know. They've changed from a 7:45 kickoff, now 7 p.m. kickoff. So make sure you're aware of that, especially if you're like me. I've done it before where I thought it was a 7:45 kickoff, joined in, and it's, I nearly missed the first half. So you don't want to be doing that, especially the position the club are in right now. So yeah, just a little heads up with that one. And some more news. I'm really proud of this one. I know, John, you pay a lot of attention to the Cheltenham Town ladies. So admittedly, I watched my first game last week. They were in the FA Cup. Thought they'd give a great account for themselves, given they were out for 3 months, not playing, not training. Went 120 minutes toe-to-toe with a good Portsmouth side, were organised. Lo and behold, comes out a couple of days later that for one reason or another, Portsmouth have fielded an eligible player, which means our ladies team have now progressed into the next round of the Women's FA Cup, into the 3rd round, where they will face Gillingham. And I think it's a great prospect for them. They deserve that after the account they gave, speak English. But the bigger thing for me is, wow, look at that next bit of line. Arsenal await the winners. I mean, JP, what a prospect that is for them.
Yeah, it's not the way they would have wanted to go through to the next round, is it? But they've got themselves into the next round. They're playing at Jonny-Rocks Stadium, which is going to be a great experience for them. They've had a couple of games there over the last few seasons. It's always a great occasion. They should, in my opinion, get to play there more often. I know there's concerns about the pitch and that sort of thing, and obviously COVID has come into it this season, but I think they should be closer with the men's team. I think the clubs could work closer together. I think there's things being done to allow that to happen. It's brilliant for them to still be in, because basically they thought their season was over. They haven't played, as you said, since December, where they beat Exeter on penalties in the previous round of the Cup. They put all that work in preparing for the Portsmouth game, took it to extra time, a bit like Conor Thomas against Mansfield. first game back and they got to go 120 minutes, but they put in a great effort. Are eventually beaten 2-0 against a team from a higher league, but they now get to go through and take on Gillingham, who are in the same league as Portsmouth, but a little bit lower down the table. So it'll still be difficult. But I think at home, at the Jonny-Rocks, Arsenal away in the next round would undoubtedly be the biggest game they've ever had in the club's history. Arsenal probably the most successful team in women's football history in this country. So I'll be there on Sunday, giving the best coverage I possibly can, and hopefully they can get through. And it's great for the men's team. It's great for the club as a whole to have the women's team going well. They're on the up. Obviously, they've been affected like everyone else this season with COVID, and everything below the top 2 levels stopped. But they've got some really good players. They've got a manager who's very thorough, very professional, very ambitious. And they've got some really good players. So looking forward to it. And Arsenal away would be what a way to... I'm sure they'll try and cause an upset if they do get through. But if that does happen to be the last game of the season, that's not a bad way to go out, is it?
Go out all guns blazing, I suppose. No pun intended. But no, best of luck, ladies. I don't know if we'll be able to watch. JP, I know that the club are working on something with they to try and get it available to watch. I'm not sure if you know anything.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be streamed, Tom. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be streamed, and I'll be live blogging it. There'll be photos coming out. But I think people, like they were for the Portsmouth game and like you did on YouTube, I think you'll be able to watch it live stream. Hopefully that'll be sorted in the next day or so.
Perfect. But yes, good luck to those ladies. Let's just go and make the team proud, make the club proud. I know you will. Moving on slightly from that, John, I wanted to it's not really news, is it, anymore, but it is to me, the legend that is, of course, Mr. John Ward. I want to give him a little shout out, give him some of the best times I've ever seen at Rodham Road. Turned 70 on Wednesday. I mean, you can look back at his time at Cheltenham and say, I've always argued he's probably the second best manager we've ever had. Obviously, I can't put him over Cots because what Cots did was just incredible. But so a big happy birthday to John Ward for Wednesday. I think you've had probably many conversations with him, John. He's such a nice bloke, and he had a lot of time for us. And little stories I found funny. I was talking about it the other day. I used to play the drum back in the C&G. Well, when it was the C&G, it's now Speed Skips, isn't it? But I remember it before the game. I think I was trying to remember what it was, and I'm gutted that I can't really remember. My head's saying, it was a Doncaster game where we needed to win to stay up, and they needed to win to get the playoffs. I'm pretty sure it's that game, but I can't be 100%. But anyway, I'm there just getting ready for the game. Wardy, right across the pitch, behind the goal, obviously through the stewards, straight up to me and says, and I'm just at that point, I'm just like, wow. It's like, come on then, let's have a song. And lo and behold, started the song, Wardy next to me, joining in, and said, thanks for what you're doing. Thanked everybody around him for being there and supporting the team. And off he went. And that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, don't know if you've got many. You probably have got loads of stories about John Ward, but let's have some John Ward from the JP view. Could
that have been the playoff against Wickham, Tom? Because he'd gone by the time the Doncaster game. Keith Downing was in charge for that one.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was gone when he. That's what I thought. I thought it could have been that one. It was a big one anyway. But yeah. Oh, sorry, my bad.
My memories of him was being a great gentleman, brilliant to work with. Couldn't have been more helpful. Obviously, successful period for the club. He had two 14th. Well, he inherited a team, finished 14th. His first full season, 14th again, and then without really signing many players, he obviously brought Stephen Gillespie back in, having had him on loan in 04-05, and signed Craig Armstrong as well. And that team went from 14th. A lot of players improved. Brian Wilson, Coyote OJ, Gillespie. Well, it was a good young team with a couple of older heads like Jerry Gill, Craig Armstrong, Shane Higgs in goal, and went and got promotion via the playoffs. And going into League One, he was very steady. He held his nerve. And there were difficult times where Cheltenham were long losing streaks. He never lost his composure. He was always confident they'd get out of it. And 17th obviously remains the highest finish in the club's history. Michael Duff, I'm sure, will be eyeing that to try and beat it. But at the moment, not only did he get Cheltenham to 17th in League One, he also got them to the fourth round of the FA Cup against Newcastle. That was a great day. I remember sitting in the back of his Merc. He gave me a lift to a reserve game at Bristol Rovers because my car broke down. My car had broken down in Cheltenham. I had to take it into the garage. And I rang him up and said, can I get a lift with you? I had to run to the training ground and he drove me down there. So I was in the back seat, Keith Downing and John Ward were in the front, and just listening to them talk about football. When me and Joyce did the boot Zoom with them last year, it was just great. Again, it brought back all the memories. They're just two absolutely brilliant blokes, great careers. Obviously, Keith still going strong. John still very fit and active. You wouldn't think he was 70. He's still, looks like he could go in and do a job at any club. But just a brilliant bloke, and more importantly, I suppose, from a Cheltenham point of view, he's advising Michael Duff now. So he's Michael Duff's LMA mentor. So although I don't think he wanted to use the word mentor, he's there if Michael wants any help. He can be on the other end of the phone. He's giving him some advice about certain challenges he might have faced since he took over at Cheltenham and since he came into senior management. So what a man to learn from. And I completely agree with you, Tom. I think he's number 2 for me. Steve Cotterill with 3 promotions, FA Trophy, FA Cup 5th round. I don't think his transformation of the club will ever be beaten. But I think John Ward came pretty close with what he did because he didn't have much in terms of resources. I think he spent 50,000 on Brian Wilson, sold him for 100,000. Cheltenham spent 50,000 on McCann. It wasn't John Ward, it was Bobby Gould, but sold McCann for 100 grand. And he also got the best at Coyote, who Cheltenham signed for about 5,000, sold him for 200,000, signed Gillespie for next to nothing. I think again it was probably 5 or 10,000, sold him for 400,000. And that's one of John Ward's great legacies, is the improvement of those players and the money he brought into the club, which allowed them really to fend for themselves a little bit in League One, bring in some really good players and keep some really good players. And then obviously Keith Downing took over and kept them up again. So it all went a little bit wrong when Martin Allen came in, but those years under Ward and Downing were very, very special years. And yeah, happy birthday to Wardy, 70 years old. One of the best blokes I've ever met in football, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And can I just say, you just swore on the podcast, by the way. I said that you couldn't do that. I said to you, day one, you cannot do that. But yeah, happy birthday, Wardy. Yeah, absolute legend, mate. Top bloke. Hope you enjoyed it. Moving back onto some newer stuff, quickly touch on this. Obviously, Duffy spoke today, or actually it's not Duffy anymore, because thanks to you, JP, we now have a new nickname on the pod for him. It's Chief Duff. So Chief Duff spoke today. I wanted to play some little clips for you because I've been grateful enough to Joycey, friend of the pod, sent us some clips over, but unfortunately I'm still getting new to all this, and couldn't quite get it to work. But nonetheless, we do go on. So he spoke a bit about Conor Thomas. Obviously came on with a brilliant face mask, by the way, I must say. I tried to get a pun for it, I couldn't think, because you got rags with the headbands, your headband rags. And I was going to say I wanted something like the Mask of Zorro, but I couldn't get it to work. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So apparently come through absolutely fine. No issues with the broken nose now. So I think we can safely say that the engine is back in the bonnet and we are good to go in terms of Conor Thomas. You asked Michael about Lewis Freestone, and he said he trained. Was it yesterday? Yeah, he trained yesterday, or it would have been today.
He's back in training Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, Thursday, so I've got it wrong, so don't read the little thing there. But yeah, he was back in training. Seems, again, use the word fine. Fine is fine by me. So, Town, as I said last week, when the team come out for the Tranmere game, back to the strength, and it's come at such a crucial time, as we all know. So great news on that front. And yeah, all good and well. Now, I didn't expect to do this next bit, JP, because I thought this will be at the end of the season. But just before we would come on live and recorded, it came out that Alex Addaljoin left the club on loan. He's gone to join Solihull Moors until the end of the season in the National League. Of course, linking up with former Town manager and captain legend, who is Mark Yates. Good move for Addai. I mean, we had a little conversation off camera, didn't we, John, about what this move would mean for him. And we both literally just agreed that it's good for him to get there, stretch his legs with no expectations. Did you see this one coming? Because I know somebody asked earlier. Somebody asked a question that we were going to do later. Sorry about this. So good move for him. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it is a good move for him. He's been on the bench a little bit recently, but now George Lloyd's back. So many attacking options with Smith, Williams, Vasayev, May. Obviously, he's slipped down the pecking order. And I think he's basically on trial now. He's on trial either at Solihull or somewhere else to earn himself a contract for next season. I think it has to be said, as much as he's made a bit of an impact at times at Cheltenham, his future probably does lie elsewhere this summer. So he's got a chance now. No pressure of relegation from the National League. He's going to be working under a top manager, as it says there, Mark Yates. He's made a good impact at Solihull in recent weeks, got some good results. So you can enjoy playing for him. He might get a chance to play out wide again because he hasn't really played wide for Cheltenham with the system. We chatted about that as well, didn't we, Tom? 3-5-2 probably doesn't suit Addai. He's not a wing back and he's not really a centre forward. He's tried a couple of times to play him in the number 10 role. And he has shown some signs of learning the centre forward role, but really he's an old-fashioned winger. Pace, little bit of a trick, bit of a step over, get it in the box. I'll always remember his goal against Swindon in the FA Cup. That's probably his highlight at Cheltenham. And he's a good character, no trouble. But I think it's time for him to go out. There's no point in sitting around 27 years old, not even getting on the bench. He's come back into the professional game quite late, needs to get playing football and earn himself a contract somewhere for next season. There will be interest in him because of his pace. Maidenhead wanted him. Solihull wanted him before he went to Maidenhead. Probably wishes he'd gone there, to be honest, earlier in the season, but no starts in League Two, but he has made 10 substitute appearances. But I think, yeah, good move for him to see if he can get himself a deal somewhere for next season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to Alex. You mentioned the system that Michael Duff plays just doesn't suit him, and it just hasn't worked where Michael Duff's tried to put him in. Like you said, he's put him in the 10. He probably could have played there, but he's at that point in his career where he just needs to be in the position he knows and play the direct down the wing football, taking on the wing backs and going at defences. And good luck to him. Good luck to him. Like you said, wish him all the best, and hopefully he comes good there. Yeah,
one of the quickest players I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually. He is absolutely rapid fire, isn't he? Yeah. To be fair to him, he has got the pace and he backs himself. So fair play to him.
Yep.
Right. Easter weekend. I hope you had a good one, John. I know I did. It was very, very impressive. Well, it started really well, to be fair. So let's start there. So, Town on the bright lights on a 3 o'clock kickoff in the afternoon on Sky. I mean, doesn't get any better than that, does it? On the big screen, and you put in a performance like they did. So, as we know, put 4 past Tranmere. Goals from Conor Thomas, Will Boyle, Alfie May, and an absolute skyrocket from Callum Wright, which people have floated around saying this could be one of the goals of the season. I think it's certainly up there. My initial thoughts in the game, I thought we played very, very well. Start to finish, we were at it. Was a worry, and Michael Duff spoke about it. He was slightly worried that we might have sat off second half. Didn't. Still went at them. And took care of a Tranmere team that come into the game with an excellent away record. So for me, I think it was a perfect way to kick the weekend off, and to do it on, like I said, on the big TV. It was brilliant. John, what did you make of this? Because I know obviously you're at the ground, you're covering the team, so you were there. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's quite nice to do it in front of the cameras because obviously Cheltenham play well against Man City, but when you go back to previous Sky appearances, the previous 2 League Two Sky appearances have been defeats. And, obviously the Northampton second leg would have been on Sky. That was hard to take for Cheltenham fans. So it's quite nice, again, like the Man City game, to come up in front of a national television audience and put in a performance like that. Great for Michael Duff again. People are going to take notice of that. To play against a promotion rival and blitz them 4-0 is certainly impressive for any team. But it was a totally dominant performance. Such a good way to respond, because recent form has been a little bit up and down. The Morecambe defeat was frustrating, but they probably created enough chance to feel they should have beaten Morecambe. Couldn't put ball in the back of the net. And we'll come on to Grimsby a bit later on, but I think this one, chances were taken. Obviously, 3 of the goals came from either directly from or indirectly from Ben Tozer throws. Actually, they were all indirect, weren't they? Because none of them were converted direct like they were at Grimsby. So they're all indirectly from Ben Tozer throws, including the Callum Wright goal, which I agree is probably the best goal Cheltenham have scored this season and maybe the best goal they've scored for a while. But I think it was never in doubt. Alfie May did well because he had probably an easier chance that he saw saved by Joe Murphy, and then he put away one on his left foot, which is really good. I was really pleased to see May put that one away, because sometimes he scores spectacular goals. He'll try stuff, or he'll pop up like he did against Man City and poke it in from close range. But that was a really well taken striker's professional finish on his left foot. Really well taken. Good ball from Circum after the defender gave it away. So that was really pleasing to see. He needed that. Boyle obviously back into the team after injury with a goal, and he's since got another one, which again we'll talk about. But Conor Thomas set it all off with the opener, didn't he, from a close range. And then the Callum Wright one, Michael Duff will be happy because he wants his team to win each half. So they won the first half 3-0. It's quite funny because a lot of people, including Michael Duff, were talking about the game up at Tranmere and saying, I don't think somehow it's going to be 3-0 at half-time this time. And obviously it was. So they matched their achievement up at Prenton Park, and then they went one step better in the second half with a fourth, which was breathtaking goal from Callum Wright. Ex-Tranmere youth team player. He's been at Everton. He's Liverpool-born. He's a Liverpool fan. He would have absolutely loved that. I'm sure his family and friends back up in Merseyside would have loved that as well. So just a great occasion in front of the cameras. And I think, if you're going to make a statement about promotion, beating a team as good as Tranmere, I think Keith Hill's a really good manager as well. And they just had no response. It was, I think, right at the end, possibly in injury time, Josh Griffiths had to make his first save from Nugent, but it was a comfortable save. They were absolutely dominated from start to finish, Tranmere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they didn't really create anything. They come forward really well, I thought, Tranmere, but we always had an answer. I thought defensively, not only, obviously we won the game 4-0. That tells you it was an absolute offensive masterclass. But for me, I think defensively, that was one of our best performances because we were so organised every time they come forward, because they could have been dangerous, and they have been dangerous. Like I said, Look at their record away from home up until that point. They go to places and they do get results. So I thought we dealt with them very well. And yeah, Griffiths had nothing to do, did he? Literally nothing. He had one save near the end from David Nugent, who actually, I put a tweet out. Michael Duff, there was a nice exchange between Nugent and Duff before he come on second half. And I thought, I wonder what that's about. Of course, they played together at Burnley when Nugent had a spell there on loan. So that was quite a nice little link. But I'd imagine as his career goes, I don't think he'll play and manage against a player he's played with. I don't think he'll manage against Keith Hill. Obviously, manager, but who's playing? Yeah, I just thought, wow, that's probably a first and going to be a final there. Surely, I think I haven't fact checked it yet, so I haven't come out with it. But yeah, that was quite good to look at. But yeah, again, going forward, we were fantastic. I don't think they couldn't deal with us. And Ben, we go against many teams, don't we? And that's why this whole tag of Cheltenham are a long throw team. No, it's just we've just found something we're good at. People can't deal with it. If you find something you're good at, you're going to keep doing it, aren't you? You've got no reason to change that. So I thought we played that really well. Keith Hill, obviously ex-Cheltenham, I thought maybe he'd find a way. He'd have seen that and found a way to deal with it. But I did notice that we were very much bigger and more dominant in the box than they were. So I think that was excellent planning. I think that was excellent. Whether it was planned or not actually is a different story. But I'd imagine if, like Michael Duff saying to the lads, that every chance, long throw, get in the box, let's get it. And then, behold, it just seems that the toes of Boyle thing just keeps rolling. Conor Thomas got the knockdown one, didn't he? And then obviously Callum Wright with the actual, well, it come out, didn't it? And then Wright finished it off with an absolute skyrocket, as I said. But you mentioned Alfie May there. I didn't speak about that really. I forgot about that. Man, didn't forget. But what I found with May and that chance he missed, which Murphy, great save by the way. He come out, he committed himself. A lot of keepers do that, and they get embarrassed and they wear players go around them. But I thought May's goal was actually harder than the chance he missed. I thought he's gone too wide. It's on his left. He's gone too wide, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. So yeah, like you said, great finish, excellent finish from Alfie, and yeah, I think that was probably one of the perfect statement wins you could make. We've had a few this season, haven't we? Let's be honest. Exeter, a couple against Exeter, fantastic. Their statement wins. That's when we'll look back at the end of the season. It's another one to the list to look back and say, we are where we are because of this, and this, and that's on the list for me. I think, yeah, brilliant result, absolutely fantastic, perfect performance, really, and yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to add than perfect. That's my one word, perfect. That's it.
Yeah, biggest win under Duff, and it felt like a stride towards promotion to me. That result.
It did. It really did. I got a little bit carried away. Not going to lie. If James was joining us, he'd tell you that we had a little exchange of messages, and I did say, "You better start believing because it's going to happen." And he was like, "What?" And I did say the 4-letter word that I'm not going to say it yet. I'm not going to say it yet. But yeah, moving on. This one's interesting. Grimsby. Where do we start with this one, JP? I mean, I'll throw it straight to you. For me, I said after the game, 2 points dropped. After the way we started, you could say, it took us a while and we actually got something from a game where it could have, how we started could have gone wrong, but it didn't in terms of how things went in our way in other games, but we can't rely on that. So what were your thoughts on the Grimsby game? Obviously, you mentioned it was very cold up there. You were probably freezing away up in your box. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it was very cold. It was also very, very windy, and Cheltenham had the wind against them in the first half. So Grimsby obviously took the lead through John Lewis, and it was a goal that Michael Duff would be a bit disappointed with. He sort of held off a couple of challenges in the box. Probably give him a bit of credit as well, but I think Michael Duff would be disappointed with the way the goal went in. But then the response was good. I'd say most of the rest of the first half, Cheltenham were on top. Obviously, equaliser, classic, toes are in. Boyle header. He's done it so many times before, and he's done it again. So 2 in 2 for Boyle since he came back from injury, just underline how important he is in both boxes. And then in the second half, Cheltenham had the wind, and it was, it's amazing that they didn't score again, really. We've got to mention, before half-time, Boyle had a header disallowed, which you would have seen. And Michael Duff, I know, was adamant that should have been given. Second half, Circum had a free kick, which there was questions about whether it crossed the line or not. I think it's probably too tight to call, but it was very close. There was a Sam Smith header from a Ben Tozer throw, which fell to Boyle, and he couldn't quite get enough power, and the goalkeeper gathered it. The goalkeeper played well, actually. The goalkeeper made a good save from Hussey in the first half. James McEwen, he had a good game. I quite like him, actually. I think he's been consistently good in League Two for Grimsby, and he kept Cheltenham out, really, because it was one-way traffic. And then right at the end, Cheltenham were sort of probably wondering how they hadn't scored at least 3 or 4, and then Josh Griffiths' poor clearance, and he almost gave one away to Matt Green, but he give him credit. He made a block right on the edge of the box to make up for his error. So as Michael Duff said, he made the mistake, he made up for it. It's irrelevant. Didn't cost Cheltenham a goal, but that was right, literally last kick of the game. That would have been an absolute killer if they'd lost it. But I think 4 points over the 2 games is a decent return. The performance was okay, difficult conditions, pitch wasn't great. Grimsby have now unbeaten in 7. I think 6 of those have been draws, so they are becoming increasingly hard to beat. They need wins if they're going to stay up, but they are improved under Paul Hurst. They're definitely a better team, even though they beat Cheltenham early in the season. I think they've got better than they generally were earlier in the season under Holloway. So Hurst needs a couple of wins, but they've got some half-decent players. And I think it was another one a bit like Morecambe, and I think Duff genuinely means it, where he says, if Cheltenham play and create as many chances as they did against Morecambe and Grimsby over the last 7 games, they'll probably get enough points to be where they want to be. So that's probably the biggest positive to take out of it. And first goal under Duff at Blundell Park as well, after a 0-0 and a 1-0 defeat. So, yeah, it was a very, very testing conditions. Awful pitch. Obviously, strong wins. Some decent performances. But just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net from open play. So 4 points from the weekend, not bad overall, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, you mentioned the Will Boyle second goal. Obviously we get the benefit of replay on iFollow, and there's no way that's a foul. You could quite clearly see. I think it's because there's more. How could I say it? When you go up for a header, they're seeing it now. These referees, obviously, every referee refs it different. They see hands or any part of your body on an opposition player. The benefit of the doubt always goes well, the benefit goes to the defender. It's going to, isn't it?
Yeah.
It very rarely does the attacking player get the benefit of the doubt. But this one for me was it's a bit farcical, really. But I said after it was disallowed, there's nothing you could do about it. It was done. There was no point moaning about it. We still need to go and get the job done. And I felt we made enough chances. We created enough chances to do that. You know, you mentioned Boyle. Boyle had another header. He could have had a hat trick. Imagine that, a Will Boyle hat trick. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly how many Cheltenham defenders have ever scored a hat trick, if any.
Rob Dickey has.
Did he? When was that?
That was against Chelmsford in the FA Trophy, I think.
Was it? Wow. There you go. There's one.
But not many.
Yeah, not many. Few and far between. But, I mean, imagine that, Will Boyle hat trick. That'd just be incredible. And he could have had it. He could have. On another day, he maybe he would have done. But, yeah, that one was a bit gutting, obviously. Then after that, we were firmly in control, in my opinion. We had many chances, but again, it comes down to that final thing that many Cheltenham fans this season have said. We just need that almost final piece at the end of the puzzle that will put that ball in the back of the net. And many tried it, but you can't say that we didn't try it. You know, like you mentioned, Sam Smith and Andy Williams' strike as well. I thought we were going to have a run-in between him and Callum Wright of who scored the best goal of Easter weekend. And it would have been remembered, wouldn't it? There's such a great strike. And I think maybe did the wind affect it? Maybe, I don't know. But it was such a clean strike. And I don't know, half a centimetre the other way, it goes in off the post. So it was unlucky, I think. Too. Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic ball. Great vision to see that as well. And fair play to Williams, you know, trying to hit it first time like he did. Many wouldn't. Many would have took it down, chance gone. But no, he brilliant effort. Just unfortunate it didn't go in. But I think that summed up the day. And I said that it summed up the day. The fact of it just wasn't going to be. And we had so many chances, and it just wasn't meant to be, like I said. But a point isn't the end of the world, JP, is it? Really? Let's be honest. The point is, if we'd have drawn against Tranmere and demolished Grimsby, I wouldn't be in any different mood. Well, I wouldn't have been in any different mood than I was after this Grimsby game, because at the end of the day, putting points on the board this time of the season is critical. No offense, sorry guys. Look at Forest Green, dropping points left, right, and centre. Haven't won in 3. Look how tight look how tight the playoffs are. I wouldn't want to be in that mix. So we've got to keep putting points on the board, and we're in a position where we are controlling our own destiny. And I think as long as we're doing that, I'm fine with these little blips here and there. Grimsby are fighting for their Football League status, so we knew it was going to be a hard game. They're not just going to be at home, lie down, and not fight. They're going to fight. Probably they probably fought harder than Tranmere did, and Tranmere are pushing for automatics. You know, so I think, like you said, 4 points from the 2 games at Easter. I'm pretty comfortable with that. I'm not going to cry over it. It's done now, and you know we move on to the next one. But yeah, Grimsby wise, to sum up for me, disappointing. Not the end of the world, but like I said, it did feel like 2 points dropped given the chances that we did create, and I think the team would know that themselves, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you move on to the next one, so that's what we will do. Another big game the weekend at the Jonny-Rocks. I've got to apologise to Jonny-Rocks, by the way. I always call it Wadham Road. It's no offence to you, but it's just the way it is. I'm sorry, I can't call it anything else. It's Wadham Road to me. It always has been, always will be, but you know. So anyway, that little thing. I had to get that in there because a lot of people ask me why I call it Wadham Road, but that's it. So yeah, inform Leyton Orient come to town on Saturday. Again, it's pretty similar to the Tranmere game, isn't it? In terms of they're coming in really, really good form since Joby McAnuff's come in took over. They've been on some incredible runs. I mean, I took some notes today because I'm just blown back by how impressive they've been. So they sit 10th. They're level with Exeter and Carlisle, who are 8th and 9th, chasing that playoff. So they are trying to put their hat in the ring, and I think they probably could. They're making a good statement for it. They've had 4 wins in the last 5, unbeaten in the last 7. They've scored 7 in those games and only conceded 2. So that to me tells me they're going to come here put on a great fight. And again, pretty much like Tranmere are in a position where they could be a challenge for us. They've beaten Newport. They've beaten Carlisle away. Both, again, fighting to get into this scrap that is the top 10 places then in League Two, fighting for the playoffs. Both 1-0 wins. That scares me. That scares me because they can go somewhere and grind out a win. And again, we're trying to not chase the game. If they do that to us, we'll be chasing the game. But I'm not going to say that's what we're going to do. But the potential is there in this one for me to be a little bit tricky for Town. What are your thoughts heading into this one, JP?
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. Like you said, they're on a great run. McAnuff still playing, isn't he? He came on in the last game. He started the game against Cheltenham at their place. Still a good player, but he was obviously taken over from Embleton, and they've gone from just looking like they're drifting into nothingness into suddenly being in with a great shout at the playoffs. So, yeah, it is going to be difficult. It's quite good in a way to be playing against a team that's got something to play for, because they're going to have to. Michael Duff said this morning they can't just come and shut up shop. They need to win if they're going to get in. They can't really play for draws, so that's good in a way. They're going to have to be a little bit more adventurous, maybe. But yeah, looking at the Tranmere result, if Cheltenham can put in a performance anything like that, all the big guns are back, aren't they? You've got Boyle back. You've got Raglan waiting patiently to get back into the team due to the form of Sean Long. You've got Conor Thomas, if selected, he's fit, ready to go. I thought Ellis Chapman did all right at Grimsby after the whole team really had a bit of a shaky start, and he had a bit of a shaky start, but I thought he improved as the game wore on. But I'm guessing that Thomas will come back in on Saturday just because he was so reliable before the broken nose. So that's another positive. Plenty of options up front. Sooner or later, the goals have got to start going in because the chances are being created. You've either got Tozer putting the throw-ins in, you've got Hussey putting corners and free kicks and crosses in. Almost guaranteed that you're going to get some sort of delivery into the box every time he gets the ball at the moment. He's that good. And on the other side, Matty Blair, seems to have got over that injury that he suffered at Morecambe and continued his good form on the other side. So I think with Callum Wright coming out of the team against Grimsby, because it was maybe a bit more of a battle, I can see him coming back in. Finn didn't do anything wrong, but I think it really is close between those two. But because Callum Wright was specifically left out for tactical reasons at Grimsby, having scored such a brilliant goal on Friday, I can see him coming back in. I can see it being May Smith and with Wright in just behind, and Williams is pushing as well now. With the way that he took on that chance to hit the post, but he's a great person to have coming off the bench. So yeah, I think if they create the chances they did against Morecambe and Grimsby, and defend like they did against Tranmere, I fancy the chances of getting another positive result. But Orient are decent, and they need to come out and go for it. I can't see them shutting up shop. So it should be an entertaining one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And they've only lost once, actually, since McAnuff took over. They've lost one game.
Amazing, man.
And this is quite a turnaround. That's at the bottom of my notes in big capital letters. Quite a turnaround. Because they lost 7 straight. They didn't win in 7 games, before he came in. And then, Michael Duff mentioned today, didn't he? What's different? Well, nothing's different. Tactics haven't changed. Formation hasn't changed. He's just found an extra 10%. Is that, to me, I never believe in this new manager impact or, change of manager impact, because you've got nothing changing in terms of personnel, nothing changed in tactics. It's more of an attitude change. And I think they're in a position now where I can't speak on whether anything was wrong with the previous manager, but he's found that 10%, as Duffy said. That 10% obviously wasn't there previously, but nothing's changed. So I think it'll be an interesting game. It is going to be an interesting game.
They got Cisse, haven't they? Cheltenham tried to sign him a couple of times. The big centre midfielder, who's a good player. That's the sort of player that I think Cheltenham were hoping to sign when they signed maybe Rowan Ince last season, potentially when they signed Bonds. Just a big ball-winning presence in midfield. I know Bonds had a bit of quality about him as well, but Cisse is a big presence. When he was at MK Dons, he was decent. Obviously played in the team that got promoted with them, and yeah, I think McAnuff, he's 39. He's had a brilliant career, hasn't he? Maybe he just knows how to motivate, get everyone together again. Maybe the confidence has gone. maybe he's done something to try and galvanise everyone together. But it has been incredible response since he took over, because I quite liked Embleton, but obviously it started to go wrong for him. The expectations are higher than where they looked like they were going to finish. Exactly as Michael Duff said this morning, the expectations is probably to get into the playoffs. So that's why I still think they're going to go for it. And they've got great chances. It's a couple more wins and they'll be right in amongst the top 7.
Yeah, they've got an excellent chance at it, haven't they? And especially if they continue to play the way they do. Let's just hope it doesn't pan out from on Saturday, because, but like I said, it could be a tough game. So
yeah, James Dayton's there as well, isn't he? Ex-Cheltenham. Obviously, he's not been in the team much, but he's if he comes on, he's got a little bit of magic, hasn't he, Dayton? We saw that with his free kicks against Wrexham and Grimsby, and he's a good winger. So keep an eye on him if he gets on. But he hasn't been a regular for them, but good player when called upon.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen what another ex-Cheltenham player did to us this season, didn't we?
Yeah.
In terms of a guy
in 2 games,
didn't score in 2 games, didn't do much, and then that ex club feeling, you get put in the team. Mentally, it's probably brilliant, and then your confidence is sky high. So yeah, I think you're right there. That's one to watch if it does come through.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of this one, JP, how do you see the game actually itself playing out? Because for me, I think it's going to, like I said, I think it's going to be a dogfight. And I think you're right when you say Conor Thomas back in the team. That's a move that I definitely make. A bit like, do you remember when Circum come back in? And I thought, wow, I can't remember the game now, so long ago. Every day, the days just flying, aren't they? But he come back from injury. Come off the bench, and then started the next game. And I thought, oh, actually, he won't start. He'll wait again before the Exeter game. Actually, it was a game before.
Salford, wasn't it? Salford, was
Salford.
That was he scored against Salford. Yeah. I think he played against Exeter, didn't he, away as well? That might be the first start.
Yeah, he did. That was it. He started against Exeter. I didn't think he was going to. But we said that day, that podcast before, I think it was the first one we ever did, actually. We said, if Circum's fit, you start him. I think it's the same situation with Thomas, isn't it? If he's fit, you start him. So I think the midfield 3, like yourself, I think it will be Circum, Thomas, and then Wright in behind May and Smith. They're going to have a battle. That's what I'm going to say. They're going to battle. They are going to have to be on it, because this Orient team are not coming here. They're not they're not coming here to shut up. They're not going to come here and say, right, you're going for automatics. You're the bigger team here. You're going to be better than us. They're not going to do that. They're going to go, right, we're on a run. We know exactly what's in front of us. We know how we can get into this playoffs, and we're gonna come through and do it. And we know, under McAnuff, our gaffer, we know we're good, and we've shown that. We've lost 1 game. We've beaten 2 very good teams away from home, similar to you. And then they'll come in with that, and I think there'll be a dogfight for that team. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be a very tough one. It's going to be a physical one in the midfield. This game will be won between those midfields, I think, because that's where they. I've only watched them once. It's only briefly on Quest, and I watched it last week. They do like to dominate. They play a lot of ball. And that's what I think where we're better at. Because when we play teams who put the ball over the top, much bit like Exeter did in terms of where they put the ball over the top, they tried to get in the wide. From what I saw from Orient, I know, like I said, it's only a small example. They like to get the ball down, play it through the midfield, and I think that's what we do best as well. So I think that battle's going to be key. But yeah, to wrap up on this one in terms of prediction, what are you thinking?
I think Cheltenham's performances have actually been better than the recent results. I know there's been some good results in there, but there's been a few defeats. But I think Cheltenham are actually playing quite well. I think they're starting getting back towards some of the best form they showed early in the season. So I'm going to predict. Very conscious that Orient are on a good run, but I'm going to still be confident. I think it's going to be a 2-0 home win.
I'll take that all day long. I think anybody would take that right now. Goal scorers, I like doing this to people because it's the same. It's the same thing every time.
Yeah. So actually, Circum scored against Port Vale, didn't he? When it came, that was his first goal back, and he scored against Salford. I think Circum, because he keeps on popping up on the edge of the box. He had a couple of chances against Morecambe. He always gets, he always looks like he's going to get a good shot away from the edge of the box. So I'm going to go Circum, and I think May, that goal on Friday, although he didn't score against Grimsby, the goal against Tranmere, I think he tends to go on little runs of goals. So he got one against Tranmere. I think he will go on a little run between now and the end of the season, and I can see him getting another one on Saturday. I just think he's a bubbly confidence player, and I think he'll notch again on Saturday. 2-0, I'm going for.
Brilliant. Oh, and by the way, congratulations to Alfie May and Matty Blair. They both had the birth of a couple of children this week, didn't they? I think
former teammates at Doncaster. They're very good mates. Obviously, such good mates. They're even coordinating the birth of their children together. So, congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of my prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Cheltenham win. I think, like I said, it's going to be a tough battle. This game will be won at midfield. So that's where one of my goals is coming from. I'm going to go for another Conor Thomas goal, whether it's from the spot, because that one comes up quite a lot, actually. When I put predictions out, and I ask for predictions on a Saturday morning or on a Tuesday morning, it's always a Conor Thomas penalty. Whether it happens, I don't know. I'll take it. But I'm going to go Conor Thomas, and I think you're right about Alfie. I think Alfie, you get that feeling, that goal. With Alfie, he seems to go on this run of goals, and he doesn't, and then all of a sudden he scores again. Something snaps, and he goes on these little runs, and then he finds himself again. I think Alfie will score the second goal. I think we'll take the lead. I think they'll equalise, and then we'll win it with about half an hour to go, something like that, and then we'll see what we're made of. But there we go. So, guys, we're at the favourite part of the show, because I love doing this. Every week, as you know, someone's just commented, actually, it's just flashed up. Darn it, I missed it. I'll give you fair notice. Well, I tried to. I think this one was quite bad, this one. I think I did it today. But, it's time for your questions. And I've got to be honest, there's some absolute crackers in here. So the first one comes from Don Pullin on Twitter, who asked, What do you think of Indiana Vasilev and the criticism he seems to be getting? JP, I know I've got such a big answer for this, so I'm going to let you go on this one first.
Well, my first reaction to that is I haven't really seen him do anything that deserves criticism. He's only come on in games, often very late. He's come on in 10 games. I'm not sure exactly what his longest run out would be, but he's quite often come on in difficult situations as well. I don't think he's really done anything to deserve criticism. I think if he'd had a run of games in the team and he'd done nothing and contributed nothing, then maybe give him a bit of stick. But he's a young lad. He's been on loan at Burton. This is what Michael Duff says, that he played out of position a lot at Burton. Now, he's obviously not going to come on and play wing back for Cheltenham. So again, he's either going to be playing as a striker or a attacking centre midfielder. But it's just because of the form of, Smith has come in and done well, a very different type of player. May is an automatic choice at the moment. Lloyd, if it wasn't for his concussion, he got his chance against Exeter. He's been unlucky again to get a second concussion, but he's done well. I felt really disappointed for him with that chance he had against Grimsby because he just got it all wrong, but I still think he's got a lot to offer. And then Williams as well, obviously, the experienced man in the forward line. May's got a bit of experience, but Williams is way ahead of the rest of them in terms of career games in the Football League. So I just think it's funny, there was a player called Rob Elvins that Cheltenham brought in on loan a long, long time ago, probably under John Ward in about 2006, 7, maybe, 2006. And he's gone he's gone down in the record books of being a bad player, but he hardly played. Just because somebody comes in on loan and doesn't get much of a chance doesn't make them a bad player. So I'm not writing off Indy Vasilev till I've seen a bit more of him. I just think he's been forced to wait for his chances. I don't think he's done an awful lot wrong. And I think he's played in the Premier League. People at Villa aren't chucking him into the Premier League for the sake of it. Tom Sang's gone back to Cardiff now and played a few games for them. He had to wait for his chance at Cheltenham, didn't he? And people at Cheltenham might not think he was an unbelievable player, but you could see something in him. He just didn't get as much football as he'd like, probably, due to some other people doing so well. But sometimes it's difficult to judge these lads. Joe Rodon came in. Now he's playing for Tottenham. He came in and had some good games. He had some bad games. He had some good games. He got taken off at half-time against Coventry in a very difficult game, but you could see the potential he had. So it's too easy to pick holes in these young lads, I think. Michael Duff definitely speaks very highly of him, and I won't give him any criticism until he's had a run of starts. Then we'll be able to judge how good a player he actually is.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, I said to you before, I've got an absolute page of why you can't criticise him. And you've basically hit the nail on the head in terms of overall summary. He's played, right, so he's featured in 10 games, right, all off the bench. And there's 5 games where he's not even come on. He's not had an opportunity. So that right straight away, that tells you out of the 100% of all these games he could have played, he's played 13% of the games. You what can you do? I don't care how class you are. You can't do anything in that period. So the most you asked, you didn't know when the most minutes he's played. So he played 31 minutes against Barrow, and he played 31 minutes against Bradford. What was the situation in those games? They've got something in common. We were 2-0 down in both games. Well, we were 2-0 down against Barrow. When come on,
yeah,
we're chasing the game. We're chasing the game. What's it? And again, it goes back to what we said about Alex Addai and not fitting in the system. Duffy in them games changed the formation 4-3-3 to fit him in, because again, he's very much like Addai is. He's a winger. He can play in the 10, but predominantly he plays on the left or he plays on the right. So again, maybe he's faulting from that, the fact that the system that Michael Duff plays doesn't suit him. But then you'd ask the question, so why do they bring him in? Well, he's a young lad. Yes, he's come from Aston Villa, but forget all that experience. There's obviously something there. So he's been given the chance. I think personally, maybe he was brought in to play the role that Callum Wright's playing. Maybe he was brought in to do that and play in the 10 to fit into this system. But you mentioned it. Look at Sam Smith. Look at Alfie May. Look at Wright himself. Those 3 players, Alfie May's an automatic starter. He falls in the category with your Will Boyles, your Chris Hussies, I could keep going. Liam Serkin, Conor Thomas. He's one of them. He is an automatic straight into this team, no matter what happens. Sam Smith. You compare him to Sam Smith. I looked at Sam Smith, right? So with Smith, it's different because Smith is a striker and he has got experience. Okay, yes, Vasilev, like I said, with the Villa experience, but Sam Smith's got the edge of having Football League experience, and it's completely different to the Premier League. It's nitty gritty, it's hard hitting, and it is difficult. Even the most experienced strikers would come into League Two with the minutes that Vasilev's had and the chances he's had, and would struggle. A lot of people would. So you cannot sit there and tell me you can criticise him, because you can't. But this is the thing. I was looking at Sam Smith, right? So you look at Smith since he's come in. So he's played 14 games. He scored in 3. Altogether, he's played 1,070 minutes of football this season for Cheltenham. That's an average of 76.4 minutes a game. Then you look at Indy and Indy's stats. Sorry, my things are all over the place, but I've got to hit this on the nail because I've had this debate with so many people about it on Twitter. You can't criticise him. He's played 31 minutes against Barrow, like I said, 31 against Bradford. He played 20 minutes against Walsall, which was his 3rd game when he was at the club. So he was still trying to get in. He was still learning. He's still learning the way we play. He had 7 minutes against Forest Green, 9 at Harrogate, 10 minutes against Port Vale, 14 minutes against Mansfield, 7 against Morecambe, and 14 against Tranmere. He is not getting the opportunities for us to sit here and criticise him. And to be very honest with you, I wouldn't criticise him if he did, because you can't criticise anybody in this squad because everybody's playing their part, because that's a big part of where we are in the league, because everybody's playing their part. They're fighting for their shirts. And that's why I need to get that off my chest, because you cannot criticise this guy, okay? Anyway. But yeah, he's playing. He's averaging 18 minutes a game. I've just worked it out. 18 minutes compared to where Sam's playing nearly, 77. So there you go. Moving on to the next one. Obviously, we were asked this question before the news came out. Dom, I will mention it because he's good enough to ask. Do you know if Alex Addai was injured or if he's just out of favour? Clearly, today's shown that probably out of favour. Pretty much like in the same situation as Vasilev, like we said, tactically just didn't fit in. He had his chance. He did get a chance. Maybe not so much this season, but it is what it is. And Addai now, obviously, at Solihull Moors. Don't know if you've got anything on that sort of situation,
well,
John.
I think again it shows that Duff rates Vassiliev to let Addai go out on loan because he's ahead of him. He did have an injury. He was ill for a while, wasn't COVID related, but he was ill and injured. Then he appeared on the bench briefly. Now he's gone out on loan, so he's definitely out of favour now. Obviously, they wouldn't let him go out on loan, but I think he's been a bit unlucky with injury and illness as well. One thing, when Indy apparently had his first battered sausage and chips on Saturday after the game, so that was a new experience for him, being obviously being American. So he didn't know what a battered sausage was apparently, so that was quite a good experience for him. But I think they deserve their fish and chips after the game, or battered sausage and chips after the game for a decent effort. But yeah, Vassiliev, how old is he? Look at his age.
He's 20 years old.
I think you said that maybe he's trying to get into the Callum Wright or Finn Azaz role. I think Michael Duff possibly sees him in the Alfie May. I think Alfie possibly playing off a centre forward. But 4-3-3 definitely will probably suit him. But I don't. It seems that no matter how well Cheltenham are doing, somebody seems to get stick. Andy Williams has got quite a bit of stick this season. Josh Griffiths, look at his record, look at his clean sheets. Yes, he's made mistakes, but there's a reason why he's in the England under-21 squad. There's a reason why he's at West Brom. There's a reason why he's on loan in League Two. I'm not saying that players shouldn't ever get criticism, but I think picking on people when Cheltenham are on course for their best ever season in League Two, especially when it's young lads, is a bit harsh. Possibly it's just frustration. And I understand people care a lot, and it's frustration when results aren't going well, and especially when you can't be at the game. It must be awful when you see a result like the Barrow result or something like that. It must be doubly frustrating. But Cheltenham aren't doing bad. Cheltenham are very lucky to have the team they've got, and nobody really deserves to be singled out and hammered, because it's a squad effort, and they are on the verge of doing something the club's never done before. So Williams gets a bit of stick. He scored 8 league goals, hit the post with a wonder strike on Monday, and he's great to have around. He's not been banging goals in for fun all season, but he's a good player. I think we spoke about this before, Tom. If you were told now we'd be signing Andy Williams, you'd be quite excited about that. He's had a great career, and he's a model pro, and he gets on well with the lads, and he's respected, and he's got a huge amount of knowledge, and that's why he spends a lot of his time shouting from the sidelines, encouragement for people like Sam Smith. He's not sat there moaning about not being in the team, although he wants to be in the team. He's a good influence, and I think, unfortunately, Cheltenham fans have hardly seen him play. Maybe might have seen him play briefly in those December games, but he's been a good signing. If he doesn't score another goal between now and the end of the season, he's made a positive contribution this season, in my opinion. And I think, especially for the younger lads, Indy is not let anybody down.
No, I agree. I completely agree, mate. I couldn't agree more. There was one question here. I didn't take the name. Stupidly didn't take the name, but I will find you and thank you on Twitter. But there is one here that says to me, wherever it is. Sorry, my notes are all over the place. Oh, yes, it is. It's Benny Hodge. Thanks for your question, Benny. How many points do you think it will take to get the top 3, and how many do you think Town will get?
I think Cheltenham's record points in League Two is 78, which was 01-02, where they just missed out on automatic, had to go through the playoffs, which they did against Rushden. I think if Cheltenham get into the 80s, they will go up automatically, and it might be enough to get the title if they go up into the 80s. I think it's very difficult to predict, isn't it? Because there's so many points being dropped and people taking points. So I think if Cheltenham, I reckon, cross the 80 threshold, it's League One football next season. In terms of how many I think Cheltenham will get, was that part of the question as well? How many do I think Cheltenham are going to get?
Yeah.
I think Cheltenham will get 83. I'll go for.
Okay.
So that's 14 more points, isn't it? 14 more points from 7.
14.
So that's 2 points a game, which is basically promotion form. That's what I'm going to go for. 82, 83, I reckon. I'll go 83.
That's decent. It's interesting you say 83, because for me, obviously, how many points do I think it'll take to get top 3? I think you're right. Hit the 80 threshold, you're playing League One football automatically, aren't you? whoever that 3 may be, I think it will be Cambridge. I think it will be us. And I think, as we spoke earlier, I think we spoke before. You asked me who I think will come third. I think Bolton will get there. No disrespect to Tranmere, and I'm not holding Friday's performance against them. I just think Bolton are seriously in a good run of form. But either way, even I think as well, just to go a bit further, I don't. If Bolton don't get top 3, I think they'll come through the playoffs. So yeah, 80 threshold. I agree with you on that. Now, in terms of points, again, I ran this by you earlier as we were waiting to record. I wrote it down because I do this and then I forget. So I think Town will get 15 points from the last 7. Optimistic, yes, but you've got to be. There's a reason why I can be, because there's something different. I've said it many a times about this team. There's something different about this squad of players that every time we're chasing a game, well, not chasing a game when we're 2-0 down like Barrow or Bradford, but every time we go behind, I always fancy us to score. And we almost saw that again, didn't we, on Saturday? We have got that ability to, no matter what, right until the last final whistle, we've got the ability to go and get a result. So I think we get 15 points from the last 7, which means we'll end up with 84. So 1 more than you, John. Not holding that against you, which is, like I said, it's interesting. I'll get why in a minute. And I think we will get promoted. Will that be good enough for the title? Well, it depends on Cambridge. So I did a little bit of digging about Cambridge as well, because I think it's between us and them. If you look at their games to go, they play Exeter at home on Saturday, then Newport away, Orient away, Stevenage at home, Harrogate away, Grimsby the last game of the season at home. Out of those games they have left, I think they're going to get 12 points, which means they will finish on 83 points. So I think we're kind of in tune there, John. I'm thinking 83, 84 is probably going to get you, isn't it? It's going to get you that the trophy. But I don't care about the trophy. I've got to be honest. I'd love to see him win the league. I'd love to see Cheltenham win the league. But honestly, I don't care. Even if we come third, we're going up. That's all that matters. We're going up. So yeah, I think Cambridge, it's advantage Cheltenham in terms of we've probably got the easier running, but I haven't gone out and said, right, we're going to win every game. I'm not going there because you can't. There is games in there that I couldn't call. So maybe I took a win off a team where I thought maybe we'd draw where there's a possibility we could even not get a point, not get a result, I think our running will be a bit more smoother than Cambridge. So I think we will win the league. Don't hold this against me. Anybody watching, don't hold this against me if it goes wrong. But I think we will win the league. 84 points, Cambridge second, 83. And I think Bolton will round out the top 3. And they I don't know how many games. I don't know who they play. I haven't looked too far into it. But yeah, the form they're in, I think that's it. But to answer your question, yeah, there we are. I don't know if you've got any counter arguments for that, John. I don't think you're quite willing to go there yet, are you?
There's one question about that's just come in about Boyle's contract. He's not out of contract.
Yes.
So last summer, Boyle and Thomas, I think it was, both signed 2-year extensions. So all the back 3, the regular back 3 of Raglan, Tozer and Boyle are tied down beyond the end of this season. Sean Long is out of contract. I'm sure Matty Blair will be offered a new contract. Hussey's already tied down. Thomas is already tied down. So there's a good call there. And then, much of it might depend on what division Cheltenham are in. But to answer the tweet from Here's Hell, Here Hells. I know who that is, but yeah. So, but yeah, Boyle is not out of contract, so don't panic. They might offer him an extension, but at the moment he's not out of contract this summer. So don't panic. If he's going to go anywhere, people are going to have to pay decent money for him.
Absolutely. And is it him or is it Raglan? I will fact check this and I will update it in the comments below. I was looking the other day. I'm sure it's either Boyle or Raglan. Nobody ever paid a transfer fee for him, and we've got him tied down at our club. It's either Raglan or Boyle. It's one of them. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it's.
I don't think anyone's ever paid a fee for Boyle.
That's it. I think it is Boyle. I think it's Will Boyle. But yeah, like I said, I'll fact check that and drop it in below because I just found it so interesting. I nearly tweeted about it, but I just didn't think it was very. I didn't think.
I don't know if anyone's paid a fee for Raglan either, to be honest with you. But
yeah.
Definitely good best around. Yeah.
What a win that is. We spoke about it earlier, didn't we? With John Ward, look what he did with players that we didn't really pay a lot for. We're doing it the same with these guys. Probably some of the best players in this league. I'm not just saying that because where we are, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Town fan. I'm saying that because it's true. Cost us nothing and probably are priceless to us. So, I really, brilliant. This one's from Graham Fletcher, and I will say after, but I've only ever done one, so I'm going to give this one to you, JP. He says, what do you think is the best interview you've ever been involved in and what made it so good?
That is an interesting. I've done a fair few over the years. Yeah, I think my best interview. I think interviewing John Ward after the playoff final was a special one. That was a special moment. Speaking to Marlon Pack after the Torquay playoff semi-final, after that free kick. That was a brilliant interview. I think, but I'm going to pick one that isn't after a game. My favourite interview, for not a lot of reasons, and it sort of ties in what you said right at the start of this podcast, Tom, is probably the one I did with Chris Hussey this season about his off the field struggles. I think that was, I don't want to over-egg my interview, but I think it's a really important topic for Chris to come out and discuss, and he hadn't spoken about that publicly before. He was brave enough to do it. He was very open and honest with me. What he wanted to raise awareness of, speaking out if you're struggling, some of the things that he's been through. So I think that was one of my favourite, is a strange word to use, but I think that was I felt an important one. And I also really enjoyed having a chat through Scott Flinder's career this season, having a chat about Ruben Reid's career, Matty Blair. I like the ones where you get a chance to sit down and have a proper in-depth look back at where they've come from, how they've got to where they are now. But it's so difficult to pick. I've really enjoyed interviewing people like Barry Hales because of where he'd been in his career. Had an unbelievable career to go from Stevenage to Fulham via Bristol Rovers. Unbelievable career, and he's still banging the goals in at 38, 39 years old. It's very difficult. Some great characters over the years, but I think Hussey's one this season was got picked up by a lot of people, and I think it did make a bit of an impact, which is what Chris wanted. He just got himself a first-class degree, first-class honours degree, having only got one GCSE in music, and I think it just shows that what you can do. And he also obviously spoke about speaking out if you're struggling, because he has had ups and downs throughout his career, but he seems to be in a really good place now. At Cheltenham. I think Michael Duff has managed him well. I think they get on really well. Got that respect, and he's such a good player. It's just what he can do with his left foot is ridiculous. So, of recent interviews, that one stands out for me, Tom. Thanks for the question, Graham, as well.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, and that's a brilliant answer. Got to be honest, it's one of them. Like I said, we spoke at the start, didn't we, about it? I spoke about it at the start. It's one of them. So, for Chris to do that takes massive balls. I'm going to go there. It takes balls to do that, especially the stature you are. Professional footballer. People think, they've got the great lifestyle. They're not. So sometimes people think they're not human. And Michael does say it about, the performances. These guys are human. They feel everything. And I think that's an absolute perfect answer. And I think you can have answered it any better, John, to be fair. Obviously, mine, no points, Stephen Gillespie last week, but that's nothing compared to that, to be fair. So we got another one, and I left the best till last because I don't know if you've done your homework on this. Because when this man said it to me, I was like, mate, how am I supposed to read that out? I'm going to butcher that. He's like, no, you'll be great. So, question for John comes in from Gavin Garthwaite, regular listener. Really appreciate you supporting, mate. You're absolute top lad. So, Sunday the 12th of September 1999, which is incidentally the day before I turned 10 years old, by the way, was a significant day in the Robins' history. It was the first time Sky Sports showed a live game at Wadham Road, and also the club announced its very own football college with 7 youngsters signing up. This number soon became 4, with Dominic Carminati, Daniel Costello, Sam McCarthy, and Nathan Smart, who is Andy Cole's cousin, becoming the 4. My question to John is, were these lads unlucky not to get a sniff of first team action due to the success that the club was having at the time? with the more experienced players continuing to deliver year after year?
Yeah, it's a good question from Gav. I remember those lads very well, and there was a couple of other lads who came in, Jason Rawlins and Danny Young, Damiano Laviola. They all came in at the same time, but those 4 lads stayed a bit longer. But I think it was very much an experimental venture at that time. So this football college, the lads went to, I think, Glosscat, as it was called then, Glosscol now.
Yeah.
Trained every day. They trained with the first team quite a bit, often on a Friday. I remember them getting involved in five-a-sides and stuff at Hardwick campus, where the Cheltenham trained at the Folly and the Hardwick campus. I don't think, realistically, those 4 lads at the time were ever going to get in the first team. They played a bit for the reserves, and they were regulars, obviously, in the same youth team as the likes of Shane Duff. Did anyone else from that youth team come through? I think Shane Duff was the main one from their age group that would have come through, but it was a decent youth team. Spike Rhodes was in it, who's had a good career locally, and a few other good lads in that team. But I think Dan Costello was probably the pick of the bunch. After they left Cheltenham, so it was a very short-lived thing. And then they basically, the centre of excellence that Brian Forsbrook, who recently passed away, so rest in peace, Brian, great bloke and did an unbelievable job. The centre of excellence became the academy, and then Cheltenham have proper scholars like every other club, going through a 2-year system, and then they either go pro or get released. So I think it evolved into what it is now. But those lads were almost like prototypes. They were good lads, they were good players, but I don't think realistically at the time they were anywhere near the first team, partly because of how strong Steve Cottrell's team was. And it was full of 30-year-old blokes that had been in the Football League for 10 or a high level of non-league football for 10, 15 years. A lot of them, they're competing against, Dan Costello was competing against people like Martin Devaney, Russell Milton, Dominic Carminati was a striker. He was competing with the likes of Neil Grayson, and Dale Watkins, Hugh Macaulay. So those lads, I think it wasn't that they were poor. It was very much a sort of see how it goes type thing, and it didn't last very long. But they did play a part in what the system that Cheltenham have got now. So the academy system that's brought through the likes of Luke Thomas, George Lloyd, Tom Chamberlain, Grant Horton. Josh Thomas is now at Gloucester City doing well. So a few good lads have come through that, and I'm sure there are more to come. Will Dawes is another good lad that's been in the academy. He's gone to university, and I'm sure he's still got a chance to make it as a pro in the future, but he's gone to get his degree at Loughborough, and he might get another chance again, like some players we've seen. So, yeah, me and Gav, I remember chatting about those lads, and they moved. Dom was from Cambridge, Dan was from London, Nathan was from Nottingham, and Sam was also from London. They all moved into Diggs. It was a big move for him at 16, 17 years old. So it was an exciting time for the club because we'd only gone pro that season. And I think the club was still finding their way in terms of on and off the pitch. What's the best way to do this? How are we going to bring young lads through? So you had all the best sort of local lads in Cheltenham playing for the youth team. And then suddenly these 4 lads from all over the country came in. But they were good. They were good characters. I've actually sort of stayed in touch a little bit with Dan and Dom. Sam a little bit. Nathan, I don't think Nathan's on social media, but I was obviously a massive Cheltenham fan at the time, and I used to sort them out free tickets for the Odeon as well, because I worked at the cinema. So they used to come in after training, and some of the first team players, Keith Hill came in, Mark Zatori, Martin Devaney, Michael Jackson, Hugh Macaulay, Jamie Victory, John Bruff. They all used to come in, get their free tickets. I was absolutely loving it because obviously I was a fan. Used to sort them out tickets for various films, but those lads, they did go on to play at a decent, they had decent non-league careers. But main answer to Gav's question, they were never going to go from being 16, 17-year-old lads from London to getting in ahead of the players that were ahead of them in the team. There was just too big a gap, and there was no there was no under 23s. There was no development team then. They were just chucked in at the deep end. Yes, there was a reserve team, but it was too big a gap, and they moved on to something slightly different model. But it was an interesting time. It's the first time the club had. I'd say they'd had trainees before, they'd had YTS players before, but just to attract people from Cambridge, London, Nottingham, it was very different. Now, obviously, most of Cheltenham's lads are from sort of within, I'd say, 45-minute radius that they pick up lads from. But it was interesting. It was very early days. Mike Davis, who was assistant manager to Steve Cottrell, he would have worked with those lads. Great bloke. And then Bob Bloomer would have been around as well as one of the senior players who also did a bit of coaching in the reserves. And I'm sure they enjoyed the experience. And I know Dom went on to play at a good level in Cambridge, I think, for a team called St Ives, not the one in Cornwall, the one in Cambridge, and he had a decent non-league career.
Yeah.
And I think Dan might have gone to Enfield because he was from near like North London, Enfield area. I think he might have played it for a couple of decent non-league clubs around there. But he's a massive Tottenham fan, and he's having a really good career outside of football now. He's a civil servant, I think. So yeah, good question from Gav.
Yeah, I thought it was a great question. It's good for me as well because I didn't know. Obviously, like we've made it clear before, I didn't really follow the team then. So for me to hear that from you and learn that as well, that's brilliant. But he did follow it on. Actually, it's funny you mentioned the likes of the guys, Tom Chamberlain, Callum Ebanks, and Grant Horton now because he followed it up with another question, and you sort of touched on it, but we'll go there a bit more. He said, do you think the club will want to keep all three on and look to get them into senior men's football experience next season in the hope they can all make it? All three have suffered from certain leagues cutting short their campaigns due to COVID. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't mention Callum earlier, but Callum's obviously signed a 3-year deal, so he's definitely going to be around next season. So they've seen something in him that is very rare to give somebody a 3-year. I know they've given Lloydie a couple of decent contracts because they know how special he was at that age and how much potential he's still got. I think Callum will definitely be around. He's gone back because of that lack of non-league football. Callum's been back with the youth team playing for the youth under-18s again just to get some football and to get his fitness up. Tom and Grant, I think it'd be very harsh to release them after 1 year of what they've had this season, COVID. My big thing generally, Tom, is you can't give a lad from the youth team a 1-year deal, leave him to sort of neglect him and just leave him alone for a year and then release him. What's the point of that? You've either got to get rid of them at 18, let him go to uni or let him try and play non-league football, or you've got to give him a decent amount of time to try and bridge that gap because Lloydie was exceptional in the youth team. I think he got over 50 goals 1 year and he's still taking his time, hasn't he? He scored a couple of goals early on, but now I think he looks like a League Two player, in my opinion. He'll be disappointed with that chance he had against Grimsby, but I think he looks like a regular League Two player now. Whereas you look back over the last few years, you've had Jordan Lim, got a 1-year deal, ended up going to Evesham. You've got Josh Thomas, who's doing well at Gloucester, but they never really got a look in. There's not many reserve games these days. There's been no non-league football since the winter, since probably the end of the autumn. So I think it'd be very harsh to let those lads go after a year. I think Michael Duff really rates Grant Horton as a defender, and I think he's he was close to coming into the team. I think Michael Duff considered him for the Cambridge game, but Longy deserved it. But I think Grant is pushing. I think he's potentially come ahead of Dan Barry now in the pecking order in defensive terms. Obviously, Dan's out on loan at Wealdstone getting some football, which is good for him. But I think Tom, again, I think he's a good player. I've seen one fan who's very, very prominent on social media compare him to Marlon Pack in the way that he plays the game. Obviously, that's a big compliment, and I think he is that type of player. But he's not going to be ready to go straight into League Two or maybe even League One football week in, week out at his age. He's just a teenager that needs time to develop. So next season it should be the highest level of non-league football where he's going to play. That they think realistically, Cheltenham seem to have some good links with now. They've got the link with Evesham. Mickey Moore, the director of football, has got good links with clubs in the Midlands, Redditch and Bromsgrove and teams like that. You've got Tim Harris now at Worcester, who the club know very well. You've got Mark Yates at Solihull, the club know very well. So, get them out. Jerry Gill at Bath, where Grant Horton's been, Dan Barry's been, Tom Smith went and ended up going there and doing well. Now he's back in the National League on loan. So I just don't see the point in giving lads 1-year deal and then binning them off. Give them properly. They're not going to cost a huge amount of money. Give them a couple of years to develop. If you don't see that in them at 18, let them go off and do something else. Let them go to uni or let them go and start playing men's football straight away. But if you see something in them, Michael Duff was a late developer, wasn't he? So Michael Duff got released by numerous clubs when he was a kid. Forest, Swindon and Darlington. He got released by all of them. He was playing for Carterton Town. He came to Cheltenham, went on loan to Cirencester, got sent back because they didn't think he was particularly good. And then look what he's done since. Went up to play in the Premier League by the age of 30. So give lads time if you see something in them, and they might, the club might either get a Gloucestershire lad in the team or they might sell somebody on. So that's my big thing. Don't just give them 1 year where they're just basically standing still. And I know that's partly down to the player as well. And any chance they get to go out on loan, they got to grab it. rather than sitting on the bench or just playing the odd reserve game. Get out and get some football. Shane Duff went on loan to Evesham. That helped him come through to the first team. Michael Duff went on loan to Cirencester. Even though he got sent back, when he did get sent back, he was in the team. Cottrell played him right back, and he never looked back. So yeah, it's difficult, but I think everyone at the club would agree, as much as good work the academy have done, and Callum Ebanks is the next really exciting one to go pro. I think we all want to see a Gloucestershire lad in the team, don't we? George Lloyd is a Gloucestershire lad, and that's great. But there needs to be more. There hasn't been enough since Cheltenham have been in the Football League. And it's partly because Cheltenham have progressed and they're attracting players from all over the country now. But there's no reason. There's enough good players and there's enough talent coaches, development coaches in the academy. They should be bringing through players. And I think we might have discussed this before, I'm not sure. But what you quite often find is if they really are exceptional at early age groups, they often get picked off by bigger clubs at 15, 16. It's what happened to Luke Thomas. It's happened to a few other lads over the years. So Cheltenham tends to miss out on having them in the first team, but still done a great job developing them, and they maybe make a bit of money out of them. But I think try and keep hold of them. Jamie Edge, who went to Arsenal, would he have been better just staying at Cheltenham and trying to get into the first team gradually there? You can't deny the lad.
That's a tough one, isn't it? Yeah.
But now, he's now playing at a good level of non-league football, that if he'd just come through at Cheltenham, but you're never going to be able to stop a lad following his dream and going to Arsenal. I'm certainly not saying he should turn down Arsenal, but it's those ones that maybe don't get the big move at that age, but they've got something. They've seen something in Ebanks. They've seen something in Horton, Chamberlain, Lloydie. I really hope that we see over the next few years. I think Duff has actually, made it one of his goals is to bring some lads through, because he came through the youth system. It wasn't an academy then, but he came through the youth system, and he is probably the best ever. There's been a few good ones over the years, but I think Duff is Cheltenham's best ever former youth trainee. You look at the career he had, the international caps, Premier League appearances. So yeah, who's going to be the next Duff?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I think you're absolutely spot on. Yeah, who is going to be that next Duff? And I think that's a great place to finish off, mate. Unless you've got anything else you'd like to add before we leave, or if there's anything.
No, it's good to chat again, Tom. I know you've got a few. Won't give anything away, but I know we've got some good guests planned for the next few weeks. I'm looking forward to that. So people don't have to listen to me all the time for an hour, but no, it's always good to chat. Hopefully, we got some more positive results to chat about in the next couple of weeks as well.
It is, yeah, definitely. Without giving anything away myself, but if you were listening carefully throughout the pod, we did mention a few. I'll leave that to you guys to decide. But JP, yeah, it's brilliant to speak to you, mate. Thanks for coming back. It's like I said, it felt like a bit of a long time. I think it's been 3 weeks or something like that since we last spoke. Well, on the pod, I know we speak quite a bit anyway, but yeah. So appreciate you coming on, mate. And like you said, hopefully we've got some real positive to speak about in the next few weeks.
Yeah, brilliant.
Cheers for joining me, John. Obviously, as we mentioned at the start, again, I just want to touch on it because it's huge. And JP mentioned it with Chris Hussey, and let's just mention it again. If you are suffering in any way, please make sure you do reach out and find help, because there is someone always there to help you. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, Luke 1977. Appreciate you backing us. It does mean a lot. Go to luke1977.com. Shop their new spring summer collection. I actually had a look today. Funny enough, there's some good stuff on there. Don't tell the wife. That's all I'm saying. But until next week, guys, I've been Tom Wade alongside John Palmer. Until next week, come on, you Robins.